The ultimate compliment is to be considered an asset by those who know you. But what exactly does that mean? And how do we get there? I believe that there is a less discussed approach to becoming a person of value, a person who is successful, respected by others, and fulfilled. It's somewhere between the hustle culture and the ease and flow of manifestation. This podcast is designed to be a resource for the ambitious, the relentless, and the rare who are breaking societal norms, going against the grain, and are open to unconventional practices as we study what it takes to be a true asset in every area of life. My hope is that you'll find this podcast unique and like it enough to share it with a friend and maybe even one day join us at one of our in-person events. Enjoy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the She's an Asset podcast with your host, me, Autumn Clifford. I'm really excited to be here with you. Today, we are out of my house and we are in a restaurant, which is actually really fun. And we're with two of my friends. We have Miss Inez Barberio and we have Barbara Wardell. I was going to say Wardwell. I just met Barbara today, so don't hold that against me. We're going to have some really exciting conversation. We actually just attended an event that Inez just spoke at. It was a 1,200 woman event. It's really great. And so what I want to talk about today is the importance of building relationships. So I'm going to ask Inez and Barbara both to introduce themselves to you, and then we're going to discuss this.
Okay. Thank you, Autumn. I love this impromptu podcast. So yes, I'm Inez Barberio. I'm a speaker on emotional intelligence. I also host an event called Core Women's Network, which is about relationship building. And I'm really excited to be sharing my tips for you.
Yay!
Yeah. Hi, I'm Barbara Wardell, and I am co-owner of Cullari and Wardell, a geofencing ad agency, sending satellite verified in-store visits to everyone. That's one of my clients. Anyway, we're excited about this, and take it over.
Thank you. Okay, so the importance of relationship building. I think that this is a topic that really isn't discussed enough. This is definitely not my area of expertise. This is definitely Inez's. She's like who brought us together, and I'm learning so much from her. But from attending events like this and from doing day to day, what I've learned is if you would like to be successful, and it doesn't matter your career that you are in, relationships are key. And so Inez, I'd really like it if you could just share with us like how you started with your like building relationships and how you learned how important that was.
Okay. Well, as a backstory, I am an introvert. I've been incredibly shy my entire life. And I mentioned this at my speaking events that, it's lonely. It's not a fun place to be. Right. And I learned how to break out of that shell and learn how to start building, just meeting other people, getting out of my comfort zone. And from that, what I find is it's not just meeting other people. Like we go to these networking events and you're like, oh my God, I met 10 different women and all these great people. They're great. And then you never hear from them again. Yeah. And that's not really networking. Part of networking is to build relationships. And the way I do it is I find something that I may have in common with them, whether it's just being a mother, what we do for a living, where we like to travel, what we like to eat, anything. Like there's something in every single one of us that we can find in common. And also I'm pretty good at reading their vibe too, right? Because sometimes people are closed off or they don't really want to build that relationship, which is okay, because there's 10 other people that are willing to. So once I find that connection of somehow and we have a conversation, then you exchange information. And it's so easy now with social media, LinkedIn, which I don't have, sorry, but Instagram, and then just continuing that conversation there through social media, and then connecting with each other, like whether it's emails or cell phone, like texting each other. I mean, you and I live in New Jersey, you live in Maine, yet I've seen more of you. I've seen a lot of you the last couple of months. Right? No, it's a great thing. And yet we met in Chicago. Right. So relationships can be built anywhere. You don't have to be next door neighbors. And when you find that someone that's important enough to you, that you really enjoy their vibe and their energy, then you will make an effort. And, 9 out of 10 times they're going to reciprocate that effort too. And same thing with Barbara here, who lives an hour from me, but yet we do spend a lot of time together, and it's refreshing. It really is.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And so, Barbara, we know that you do geofencing now.
Yes.
But what did you do? Because I feel girlfriend's done a lot of things, so we need to know.
Okay, so I was a specialty med rep for almost a decade, and relationship building was a big part of what I did. Especially, I had like 250 doctors on my wow, and it was a lot because when you went in, I was not a pharmaceutical rep, so to speak. It was specialty medicine. So for me, every time I went into an office, there was reps there, all dressed up and ready to go. And I was like, wow, Right. So you fell in that category. Okay, that's how I have to relate. But what I realized was that's not how you relate. You watched how they work and you're like, they're missing something here. So I learned a lot about building relationships going into those offices, like talking to the staff and seeing what they like, seeing pictures, always vigilant around what that persona is, right? And learning kind of the different things that they like, what they don't like, and remembering them, and maybe writing that special note sometimes, or maybe bringing that little trinket that maybe they mentioned that their kid would like, or especially at one point I decided to dress in scrubs because I related more to the offices that I was going into.
Instead of being like
professional. Yeah, because it is professional. It's their profession. You're respecting their profession. And I had the degree, so it wasn't like I was doing anything out of the ordinary. I worked for a pharmacy, but it just helped me relate more. And I think that's the most important thing, is relating. And then once you do relate, follow up with those people.
Mm-hmm. So good. And so I don't know if, my listeners, I'm sure you can kind of relate, especially we have a lot of first responders listening. Relationship building never really came easy to me, like straight up. Like and like women in law enforcement and men, but people in law enforcement, like we deal with people all the time. So what happens is we don't want to deal with people ever, like on days off. Like our relationship building is not great. And so when I got into entrepreneurship, and truly, like, I haven't been great until I met you. You are the one who's really made me realize, like, Autumn, like, you got to actually put some you need relationships, and you need to put some effort into
go down.
Yeah, totally. And I think that I think it's like I said, I just think it's so important. And so I'm asking, you as the listener, how are you building relationships in your life? And are you closed like me? Are you the person who will walk a mile just to avoid a hi, how are you? Because that is me. So I think that's important. I think it's an important reflection. And so Inez,
yes,
for the person who's like me,
mm-hmm.
who's closed, who wants to, avoid, would you please just give some advice as to how they can start building these relationships?
Well, I was you at one point, and I just kind of faced my fear. So what I did personally in terms of getting more comfortable speaking to people or being around groups of people, I actually took a public speaking course, and I also took an acting course with no intention of ever being an actress. But it put me in the most uncomfortable position possible, where it made talking or speaking to other people rather a lot easier. But it was a process. It took me a time to take that, like little baby steps. And then I would start attending events with my husband and just telling myself, okay, you know what? At this event, I'm going to just meet one person. Just try and form a connection with one person, just not to overwhelm yourself. And don't get discouraged if that person is not as receptive to you, because that was like a fear of mine too. You kind of feel like let down, like, oh my gosh, I spoke to somebody and they're not showing interest. They must not like me. It's okay, because if you think about it, you personally are not connecting with everybody as well. And at my event this past summer, I specifically told you I'm not speaking to you.
Yeah, you should.
Because number one, you already got my attention because you were staying with me, but I wanted you to make sure that you didn't use me as a crutch where you were in a safe environment, because at my event is all handpicked women, like, you know, it was a personal private event, but I knew you would be safe there for you to go out and meet. And I was like, every now and then, if I turned around and you made eye contact with me, I was like, no, I'm not speaking to you.
You didn't meet.
Right. Well, there was 60 plus people there, but now you guys met and now you'll be forever friends.
Exactly. No, that's so good. So good. What about you, Barbara? I mean, you said that you had to go in and you had to create relationships with like 250 doctors.
I built it up to 250 doctors. The thing is, when I first started, I didn't know 5 drugs. I didn't know anything about the business. I was offered the job because they knew that I could sell, but my personality was, you know, soft, and, you know, I'm not a loud person, maybe sometimes. But overall, I had to form my job.
Yeah.
I had to teach myself. With all the other people that I knew, I'd ask them questions. I went in, how do you go into an office? How do you do this with the pharmaceutical people that I knew? But I also knew that it was different than what they do. So I had to form my personality around my job, which it had its ins and outs, and in like, oh, I went into an office and they didn't even acknowledge me, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. But you get around that. You step one foot in front of the other, and we make more relationships. Like Inez and I, we had a mutual person in my life that was friends with her husband and her for a long time. We always was very cordial to each other, talked a little bit, but we didn't really make friends until later on. And it was a couple years. And it was amazing how she came with open arms to me, and she was just a beautiful person. And she was just like, hey, why don't you do this with me? I went to Philadelphia once with you. We did. I remember it was at a radio station.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. You remember that? That was kind of a little bit of bond there. And then we went from there. But
wouldn't you say that was because like you didn't burn bridges either? Like there was no reason to burn a bridge, but like, don't you, like, some people can be like, oh, you looked at me wrong. Fuck you. Like, that's it. Like, I
try never to do that, because when I was younger, I understood that you never know when that person's important in your life. Maybe you're not meant to be on that path at the same time at that moment, but that doesn't mean that you might not cross paths again. Right?
Yeah.
So good example. You know, and I also think that it's very important to make those steps, to put out your hand, to introduce yourself, whether or not in the back of your mind you're a little nervous. As Inez said, one person at a time. You build your network. And I have a beautiful network, but you weed out the people that don't belong in it.
And I would like to just say this too, like, and we were all kind of chatting about this. You know, we attended an event and it was just so wonderful, and it was great to see all these women together. But there, you know, we did see that there, you know, and we were able to see it because we were witnesses. And I have done this. Like, sometimes we as humans try a little too hard, and especially like, so like, you don't want to be that person who's like, hi, my name is Autumn, and I'm this and I'm that, I'm done this and da. Nobody gives a shit, right? And you know, one thing that Inez has taught me too is like, it's not what, like, you know, when I show up, it's like not what she can do for me or what Barbara can do for me. It's what can I do for you? And I think we get that twisted a lot, you know?
Yes, and it's important to ask questions about the other person that you're meeting. You know, show interest in their life, in their career, in their families, whatever it is, because me too. Our favorite topic is us. Because we know ourselves the best. Like, we could talk forever about us. But that's because we're comfortable with that, because we know more. And sometimes, you know, we're in a society where sometimes people get turned off if you ask the wrong question. And so there's like a little fear in the back of your mind with that. But if you show a genuine interest in someone, then that's like a really good first step in building a relationship. And also, a lot of the relationships I've built are from people, from that one person, but then they felt comfortable enough to introduce me to their circle of friends. And it just really just balloons up. It really does.
So good. So as we wrap this up, this has been really fun. So it's definitely something we just decided to do. We're sitting in the middle of a restaurant. We're really not even supposed to be here. Like, so
You took over.
yeah. Like we're not supposed to be here. They're being kind. So all like if you hear the background, that's what's going on. They're prepping for dinner. we're in like the breakfast area. So as we end, here's a couple of things. First off, in the show notes, you're going to be able to find Inez's Instagram as well as Barbara. You'll be able to get their contact information. So we will have that in the show notes. The second thing I have to ask, this is off the cuff. These girls have no idea what I'm about to ask them. No.
I really like you.
Yeah. We were friends for a minute, right? No, here's what I'd like to ask you. For the woman who is on the rise, this is called the She's an Asset podcast, right? And we're really about dissecting, what it is to be a true asset. I would like for you to define that for you. For the woman that's listening, what do you feel is an asset? What kind of person do you want to be around? When you think of the word she's an asset, tell me the traits that come up for you.
For me, somebody who is authentic and comfortable in who she is as a person. So many times, and we were just discussing this earlier, there's a lot of women who are very successful by all means, but they're still not comfortable in who they are, and they're still trying to prove something or exaggerate who they are. And guess what? People see right through it. You don't even have to be a great people reader to be able to read right through that. And right away, just as a human, you kind of feel that that's very inauthentic, and that's not somebody I personally really want to be around. Like, just, it's okay to expose your flaws. I mean, not in a first meeting, start crying about everything.
It all on you,
right. Not today. But just learn to be comfortable with who you are and be an authentic person, and also just be a giving person. And giving could be something as simple as, and I talk about this at my event, you can give just by, if somebody has like a business, right, on social media, you can give for free just by liking, sharing, reposting, or commenting, like, share, comment, something like that. Because believe it or not, I see so many women who have these like businesses and they're trying to promote online, and I know what a big circle of friends they have and how few actually support in that way. It's true. Just do it. Support.
You're so good. What's an asset to you, Barbara?
I have to say I agree with everything that Inez said, but I also want to add that mutual respect is very important. That encompasses so much. And if you respect yourself, you will respect others. And that's so huge. And just remember to treat people the way you want to be treated every single day.
Yes.
And go out there and have fun and enjoy making the friendships. And if some doesn't work, it's okay.
So good.
And be a good asset.
Be a good asset. Don't be an ass. Be a good asset. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Inez. Thank you, Barbara. Your tags your handles, whatever the hell they are, they will be in the show notes. You guys go hang out with them on Instagram. As always, I love you, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the She's an Asset podcast. If you wouldn't mind, could you please share this out? The only way we grow and I can get this out to as many people as possible is with your help. So we're kind of in this together. And the good thing is I know you have my back. So I want to say thank you and ask for you to share the show. And if we're not hanging out in the socials, I hope that you'll come and hang out with me. I'm Autumn Clifford pretty much everywhere. Thank you so much. See you next time.